I'll link it off the end of the story too.
Okay.
Because you have actually good resources in there. It's not just, hey, we're giving you a shout out. It's the fact that you have good resources.
Right, and it's right there on the red button, so it's easy
Yeah.
to find. So.
Yeah, and it's being continually updated.
Right.
Subscribe to something that.
Yeah, that's really good. But I guess the first question is how much extra work are sort of you guys going through and doing now to sort of catch up with what the next level is that you're going to have to deal with?
Oh, it's continuous. I mean, it's just an educational thing where because it just came out on Friday, it's new to everybody. And so just, Andrew, when you came in here, we had a webinar going on. And so it's a continual educational thing. I got another webinar that's happening tomorrow afternoon because news is still coming out. How is this program going to actually go out since it's being administered through banks? How are the banks going to do it? And so it's a constant learning, almost by the hour, if you will, if not daily, for sure. So you're constantly being re-educated on yourself so you can relay it back to clients.
Biggest question that people have for you?
Is this going to be beneficial for me? And my short answer is what got passed on Friday, which is the CARES Act, is absolutely yes. How quick can I get my money? And that's where the problems are coming into, because the money is going to be administered through the banks, and the banks have yet to come up with how they're going to process all this. My own bank just emailed us and said probably a couple more days. So it's figuring out what are the banks going to do asking for stuff. So what we're trying to do is educate ourselves and relay to clients what can we do to be best prepared to get the information prepared so that we can answer these applications so there's not a hold, because it's going to be a mad rush, because I can't imagine why there wouldn't be any business that would want to try to apply for this payroll protection plan. It is just that good.
Talk to me a little bit about that plan, if you can, in a short version, if there is such a thing as a short version of all of that.
I think the short version is that the plan was enacted to keep people employed. And so it's to compensate the employer to cover payroll. And so the fact that if we have people on payroll, even if they're not working, they're going to get paid. And the employer is going to get reimbursed by this program. And there's actually a period of time where there's going to be a loan forgiveness portion, so that it won't even be a loan. It's something that's going to actually be discharged, and it won't be a taxable income item to the employer. So it's really a win-win. For those that won't be, for the portion of loan that won't be forgiven, it's capped at a 4% interest rate, and it's a 10-year payback. So it's a pretty attractive looking loan terms anyways, to kind of keep businesses afloat. Outside of payroll, it also covers rent and utilities. And so it covers the basics of what a company needs to do to kind of cover their expenses. I see no reason why a company wouldn't want to explore this, and it allows them to have the funding to keep their people employed and keep them getting paychecks. And it covers benefits. It covers their health care. So their health care is also going to be compensated back from the government through the employer. So the employer needs to pay the people. So that's the issue right now, is someone's basically continuing to pay payroll, maybe on hope and faith that this program is going to do everything it says. And so getting the banks to come up with what is the process is going to be the big deal. But by the end of this week, I very much believe it will have that process in place.
And that's a $10,000 cap?
It's a $10 million cap.
$10 million
Yeah,
cap.
so for the businesses, it's a $10 million cap. There is a formula on how big can the loan be. It's not just pick a number. It's going to be 2.5 times the amount of payroll. And if you've been in business for over a year, it's the average payroll over the trailing 12-month period that is going to determine what the loan amount is. But it covers more than just payroll. So it's a very good thing. Another element to this are individuals. So an individual is part of this same plan. Obviously, they don't own a business, but this is where the stimulus checks have come into play. And so that's gotten a lot of news play as to what these stimulus checks are going to be. And it's roughly $1,200 per person, so $2,400 for a married filing joint couple, $500 per dependent, and then they put caps for income. So a married filing joint at $150,000 or less, you're going to get the full $2,400. $198,000 is the phase out where you'd get nothing. And so something in between there'd be some math that someone would have to do to figure out how much of the stimulus are they not going to get. The other confusing part has been, well, how are they going to determine the stimulus, or how are they going to determine my income? And that's where they're going to go backwards and look at your 2019 tax filing. And if you hadn't done that, they're going to go back and look at 2018. And if for some reason you haven't had to file a return, they're going to look at your Social Security Administration. So if you're actually working or getting a Social Security check, you're still going to be in line for the stimulus check. Then the other question is, then how am I gonna get the check? Well, they're gonna look at how have you been doing, getting your tax refunds. If you've been getting direct deposit, they're gonna give you the stimulus check on direct deposit. Just yesterday, we're getting more information that the Treasury Department is supposed to be putting out a portal that's gonna allow people that says, wait a minute, I've always owed money, or I've always gotten a paper check, but I'd like to get this stimulus check direct deposited. They're supposed to be coming out with some direction as to where someone could go into, put in your bank information in order to get a direct deposit on what the stimulus check's going to be.
And it appears from both sides, or at least from the stimulus, let's start with the stimulus check from the individuals, that could end up just being in your pocket and not something you have to pay back or worry about somewhere. This is just a check for you.
That's what it looks like right now.
You know, and then the business side, you're saying the loan is there maybe at 4% over 10 years, but that's still under question as well?
No, it's not a question. I think it's part of the law. It's the application process right now. That's kind of the unknown. I mean, so what, again, what I'm telling clients, make yourself aware of what the program is, look at the specifics, and try to get your data prepared, so that when it does come out, we can just work right through those items and get it applied for that particular business.
Anything else from a business perspective in that CARES Act that businesses need to know or need to recognize while they're out there?
I think that's the biggest piece. There are some other details, just like there are in the individual stuff. Charitable donations have gotten in there. There's been some tweaks on the unemployment side where they've added more unemployment dollars. But the biggest piece on the individual side are the stimulus checks, and the biggest piece on the business side is this payroll protection plan by far.
What are you telling people from an accounting standpoint before this too, of if they've shut down, or if they're a restaurant who's only running 20 or 30% of their business, what are you telling them to do monetarily and maybe for the future that helps them somewhere? Is there a way?
There's no one size fits all. I mean, this program, I think, is going to really, really help people. It forces people to rehire people if they were laid off. So I think a lot of them jumped the gun and went through the unemployment process. And that probably was the right move, so they could get money into the hands of those employees. But they'll see through this program that one of the key parts of this is to actually rehire people. And that will take them off the unemployment rolls and get them back in getting paid through this program, which will be a great thing.
You obviously don't have a crystal ball by any means, but this program, do you think this could truly save some of these small businesses that are on the edge maybe right now?
I think for the short term. I mean, this is going to run through the end of June, and my gut feeling is if this thing goes on longer, they'll extend it. All the indicators that I've seen and the people that I have a lot of faith in have just said it looks like the federal government has stepped up to the plate, and they're going to fund this thing as much as they need to make sure that we have success going forward. And part of that success, I think, is people just needing to know that I got my job, I got my pay, the hospitals are working right, this thing is starting to get under control. And so this is just one element of creating some of that peace factor that people need to feel and hear.
While people are sitting at home right now, is there anything that you would recommend that they do maybe for the future or that helps, whether it's their monetary flow or whatever it would be right now?
I think it's prudent to take an account of what you're spending your money on, have a budget. Obviously, frivolous spending has to come to a complete stop. Make yourself very aware of what these programs are. Probably not get your advice off of Facebook. Use reliable sources. Reach out to professionals that you trust, and just educate yourself on what's out there, because this thing is changing every single day.
Yeah, the education is the biggest thing. Somebody like you who's a professional have to keep up with it, but the regular folks should be able to noodle their way through a lot of this too, couldn't they?
Yep, and so for our clients, we have a website, junecpa.com, that we've put out there. We have a special button on there for COVID-19 updates that is being continuously updated. We have things for the Family Medical Leave Act. We have unemployment stuff on there. We have things about the CARES Act for the individuals and the businesses, and it's constantly being updated as we learn about changes, whether there's worksheets, whether there's memos coming out from one of those sides. We're posting it on there for our clients and anybody else that wants to go out there and check it out.
Maybe a weird question, or I don't know if it's correct at all. We're so used to hurricanes and some of the stimulus checks that come from that, or reimbursement checks from that. Any comparison, or is this a completely different animal?
I think it's different because it's not going to be taxable, and it's just there to help stimulate what the economy is supposed to be doing. So the point is to get the money and spend it. And the other point I guess that we try to emphasize to our clients, small business runs our low country, and encouraging people to get out there and you know, these restaurants are still open, they're still doing takeout services, there's still service industries out there, there are people trying to do the right thing and employ their services in a smart way, but people need to utilize the services so that we keep these people and these businesses employed and keep them going.
Yeah, because you do a lot of accounting for small businesses in the area. I mean, how scared are a lot of them are, or how many times are they calling you going, how are we gonna get through this?
Every day. I mean, I say every day the messages, the emails, the phone calls ratchet up. And some are doing okay, but I think they feel like, hey, how long is this thing gonna go? And if this thing goes on another month or two, maybe I'm not okay. And it's just items like this, the payroll protection program is what's gonna be in place that I think is definitely gonna help businesses around here. So retirement for retirees, so if I'm at the age where I'm getting required minimum distributions, that's been waived now for 2020. So if I don't need to take the distribution, I don't need to take it, whereas before it was a 50% penalty. So it's pretty big for a retiree who just doesn't need to take the distribution out of their account, knowing what just has recently happened with the stock market. They've also put in plans where I can take $100,000 out of my retirement account, and I'm not gonna get hit with the 10% penalty if it's related to the COVID-19 Act. I have 3 years to put it back into my account, or I can take it in tax. If I don't wanna refund it back to my retirement account, I have 3 years to pay tax on the distribution of the $100,000. So pretty big change that happened on the retirement side.
Any change in 401ks for people, or what they need to think about since obviously the stock market took a dive? You're no stock expert, but at the same point, you're the money expert on that.
So I've had clients, we do Roth conversions, and it's a strategy that one looks at to say, I'm gonna take regular IRA and put it into Roth, which is tax-free growth, and now's the time to maybe take advantage of a down market to make that happen. So when the uptick happens, that it's occurring in a tax-free account. That's a good strategy. I've had clients where if I do have cash, maybe I'm pre-funding my 2020 contribution amounts to take, again, advantage of a lower market. I can buy more shares of a certain stock with less dollars today. Again, with the notion that it's gonna go up, you know, and so that's a speculation, but that's just the general belief. Due dates, I guess nothing important with 2019 taxes is IRA, HSAs, all of those due dates got pushed out to July 15th. So if I haven't done my 2019 tax return yet, I got some strategies to think about. Do I fund my IRA? If I fund it today and I'm putting in my dollars, I'm certainly buying stuff at a heavy discount. The concern is it gonna go lower? No one knows. I certainly don't know. But the belief in a long run is that things will go back to normalcy. And so if I can buy things at a heavy discount today, I'm a proponent of telling people, let's do that. So take advantage of what's out there, take advantage of these extended due dates to kind of think through my 2019 tax filing.